Hello everyone! I recently finished playing FNAF Security Breach. And with this game having a free DLC coming out very soon, well, it's time to talk about if this game is worth playing. This series focuses on giving you the information you need to see if this is the game for you. We explore visuals, gameplay, story and sound, though in this game we are also adding in performance. Hopefully highlighting the strengths and weaknesses of the game so you can make informed decisions on if this is the game you want to spend your valuable time on. So let's explore FNAF Security Breach. First thing first though, I want to start with a small disclaimer. I have been a huge fan of the FNAF universe ever since I watched Markiplier play the first game, all too many years ago. I really like the lore of the games and the dark story that is going on in the background. So I will be talking about this game both as a fan, but also wondering if this is a game for a newcomer to the series. So let's dive into our first subject, the story. The story wastes no time in grabbing your attention. Starting with a pretty nice intro cinematic, you see Freddy glitch out on stage, and then you, as Gregory, the main character, pop out of his chest cavity in his green room. Given only one goal, you need to get out of the pizzeria. Fitting the previous games of the series, the start is confusing and the story does not like answering anything clearly. And while the basic of the story of this night is kinda reasonably easy to piece together, if you wanna go deeper and get lots of the answers, the lore is scattered about in hidden places and requires a lot of observation and knowledge of the lore of the franchise to piece it together. This is both a strength and a weakness of the series, as long-time players will see multiple references to the previous games, allowing you to more easily piece together things, while new players might feel quite lost of what's going on. As you travel around the pizzeria, you do get to learn a bit about the ongoing life within the massive workplace. And as you come across several notes hidden in duffel bags for some reason, you learn they are generally split into either complaints from guests or messages between staff. They are often quite funny and can be a refreshing break between tense moments in the game. They also flesh out the area and the life there, along with giving you hints about what you should do and where extra information could be. A lot of the storytelling is also done visually, both through the animatronics and areas you travel through, drawings on the wall and secret rooms. And personally, I am somebody who generally turns to game theory after playing these games just to figure out what in the world was happening in the story. Because it is complicated and not as clear as I would like it to be. Now, like the other titles in the series, there are several endings to the game, ranging from very easy to obtain to very challenging, requiring you to explore every nook and cranny of the pizzeria to obtain them. But each ending adds something to the story. None of the ending is fully clear and they leave plenty of space for speculation and discussion amongst the fan. But I found most of the endings to be at least decently satisfying. The game does not tell you which one of the endings is the canon one. You will probably get to know that better when the DLC comes out. One of the fun things about this game is you play as a child, allowing you to experience the world from a child's point of view. And that includes facing the staggering size of the animatronics in this game. And the visual design is definitely the game's strongest point. It doesn't really matter if you're an old fan or a newcomer to the series, the whole pizzeria is perfectly themed to the animatronics. And departing a bit from the previous parts of the series, it's bright and clean and friendly looking. It's actually a place I would love to visit. It is basically a FNAF theme park, a place full of games and fun. The brightness is uncommon in horror games, but it works really well here. Especially when you then wander into more dark and disturbing areas. And there's a lot of visual details everywhere, and you get to explore a big variety of places that have their own distinct appearance. And the contrast between the front of house and back of house is very realistic, with the front being all heavily themed and so inviting and fun, and the back being more plain and mechanical, very similar to just if you work in a store, making it a realistic and fun place to explore. I find that a lot of the decor in this place is a love letter to the fans of the series. Everywhere you go, you can find references to the old games and the characters. There are so many little visual Easter eggs around to reward old fans, but also creating a good world building for new ones. And throughout the game, I felt like I was constantly immersed in a visually engaging and believable setting for where I was meant to be. And the contrast between the areas while having an overarching visual style that ties them together makes the game an absolute treat for the eyes. And the same applies to the audio. Now, one of the standout aspects of the game is the sound design. You will spend a lot of time relying on your audio cues to figure out where enemies are located. And the developer have done a great job at making the audio fitting to the character and have managed to balance it nicely. The voice acting is on point the entire game, each character has a fitting voice, and the dialogue is well delivered, and I absolutely fell in love with Freddy's voice actor, who also voices some of the other animatronics in the games, some you would not guess he is actually voicing, showing his impressive range of skills. The artificial sounding announcement guy is really fitting to the series. His dialogue is both used to world building and also just to sometimes break the tension with a lot of funny little remarks he makes. The music is great, ranging from semi-boring elevator music to heart-pounding music during some scenes, and the main theme tune of the game is really nice. And in some moments the music is what makes them so memorable. So overall I would say the audio is good. It enhances the gameplay and creates a nice and immersive atmosphere. Now it's time to talk about the gameplay, which is, without a doubt, the biggest part of any game. And this is a unique and rather engaging experience, full of fun, terror, and frustrations. So many frustrations. So overall, the gameplay loop is trying to finish a variety of tasks, usually finding a thing or interacting with a thing, while also avoiding getting grabbed by any of the hostile animatronics. This requires a lot of sneaking, observing your surrounding, listening for sound cues, hiding and weighing the risk and reward of making a mad dash for the nearest safe place. With the game utilizing a save point system, you're also always running the risk of losing your progress to wherever your last save point was. And while most of the time the save points are decently spaced, there are times where I really hated the save system, simply because of my own lack of skills when it comes to sneaking. Now, different from previous games in the series, you actually have an ally in Freddy, giving you a chance to, for a short time, climb into his chest cavity to hide from other animatronics while piloting him around. And even later, allowing you to unlock abilities to enter previously locked-off areas. As a long-term fan, I find the fact of climbing into Freddy's chest cavity to be particularly dark concept, but fun. Though Freddy, your flashlight, and your running stamina all runs out with use, so managing these things is a big part of the gameplay. Especially when it comes to utilizing Freddy, who has just a horrifying battery life. Now, the game is split into areas where you're fulfilling one task or another, and with each area you generally have a roaming animatronic, which will cause a game over if they catch you. You also have the staff bots, which are either moving around in predetermined loop or standing in place, generally mopping the floor or something. If these catch you, they will not end your game, but they will alert the roaming animatronic, who will make a mad dash towards you to end your game for them. And this is where the frustration really starts. I quickly noticed that the roaming animatronics seem to teleport at times. And I noticed this especially when it came to Chica. I have encountered Chica in one room only to walk through a door and find her in the next room as well. I also have had several instances where I know where the roaming animatronic is. I get caught by a guard, and the animatronic teleports right beside me, giving me little to no opportunity to escape. And these moments are frustrating and just give the game a really poor experience, causing me to have to step away from the game a few times because I was just so frustrated when the animatronics were acting particularly buggy or porting around, especially during the few times where I actually got into a hiding place and one of the roaming animatronics just decided to stand beside me forever, leading me to have to jump out of my hiding place and generally get caught. Freddy at times will also act kinda erratic. You have the ability to summon him, which will teleport him somewhere nearby your location, and he will run towards you. Other times, he will spawn in unreachable areas on the wrong floor, or instead of running towards you, will make a mad dash away from you for some reason, making it a frustrating experience when you have one animatronic trying to bite your ass while you're trying to get Freddy to save you and he is running away from you like you are his enemy. And adding the save point system to this, it can lead to times where you feel you're being unduly punished by the game, especially during the later parts of the game, where after a certain point, you can either get the easiest ending or you can continue for further endings, but there will only be one save point active. And that is an improvement, by the way, because in the original release, there was no save points after that point. You had to do everything you wanted to do after that without dying. Thankfully, the developer realized that that was kinda mean design, especially in a game that is so focused on exploring and figuring things out, that they did add one save point in the atrium, which was so good, it saved me so many times, and still, it could be so frustrating. Because if you decide to continue on, you have at minimum one boss fight to do before the game will autosave for you next. And thankfully it does, before going into an ending that requires a boss fight, it does actually autosave for you, thankfully. Because otherwise I probably would have cried and given up at some point. But it can be really frustrating to lose so much progress simply because the animatronics decided the laws of the universe in the game just no longer apply to them. And they teleport somewhere or grab you through a wall, or just decide to bug out and stand forever beside your hiding place. It led to moments where I thought about not playing anymore, which I think is quite sad. Especially because I love the gameplay. This game is silly fun. The sneaking is usually rewarding, figuring out the path is nice, the jump scares aren't too terrifying, and in fact I think the scariest jump scare in the game is from somebody who is not hostile to you at all. They just want to give you a map. I feel it's sad that the good parts of the game are being hampered by poor performing systems. And talking about something performing poorly, it's time to talk about the animatronic hippo in the room. I played the game on PC, and my understanding is the performance is better on console. But at least throughout my experience, I was dealing with stuttering, especially when the game seemed to be loading in assets, which could at times really disrupt the flow of gameplay and diminish the overall experience. The game is simply optimized poorly, and it's really a shame. Because this is the first free roam game in the FNAF series, adding to the overgrowing numbers of genres this series wants to try out. And I think this one is probably one of the funnest FNAF games that have come out. It was frustrating that with how much fun I was having, I was running into so many issues. And I'm really hoping the performance and some of the issues I was dealing with are actually addressed before the DLC comes out. Because by this point in this franchise, it is old enough to be doing a little bit better, I think, in quality control. I mean, it is, I think, a multi-million-dollar franchise right now with like books and an upcoming movie. I just want to see it do better because I really enjoy it. So is it worth playing? Well, even with this poor performance and many frustrations, I had a lot of fun playing it. I kept on being drawn back to the game, and I really enjoyed my time with it, and I'm considering playing it again, just for fun. Because there are areas I want to explore again and many times I stopped noticing the stuttering and performance issues, not because they went away, but because I was simply so immersed in having fun. Which I think is really good. This game is a love letter to the fans of the franchise, with so many references to the older games and the lore. And for a new player, it can definitely be a fun experience, with a lot of nice horror, interesting locations, and fun gameplay. But I fear many will be turned away because of the issues the game is dealing with. And I can see especially those who are not big fans of the franchise realizing some of its issues and simply putting it away and never continuing it. So for me, the game was definitely worth playing as somebody who is a long-time fan of the series. And I think if I would recommend it to anyone, it would be to other fans of the series and those who want to try a different horror game. I simply recommend it with the caveat that this game is not optimized well. It is fun, but it definitely has issues. So, what about you? Do you think the game is worth playing? Or do you feel I left something out in the review? Let's talk about it in the comment. And if you want to be amazing, interact with the video and subscribe so you get notified when I'm streaming some horror games and when new videos like this come out. But for now, thank you so much for watching and I hope you have a lovely day.